This is to finish off the Unpacking series, sort of telling you about myself, my background a little bit, and how I work, before I just sort of get into more of a daily rhythm. This is so it sets the scene properly, so you understand some context for me, and also I'm really trying to do my other wants me to be as authentic as I can. So, in the teaching of Podlair, there is a correct way to go about things, and this is really important. This is what the focus of this filming is going to be. Is there is a way that you would ideally, both on the circumstances and your own application of your abilities, an ideal way to read Mojo, to do this filming. Like right now, there's an ideal way for me to do this filming. But there are other factors, and this is something I need to talk to you all about, particularly since my other wants me to be forthcoming about how I work, both for Naiji in general, both also for how humans work in general, because I'm going to push myself, which is relevant to all humans, and the fact that Podlair theory is coming from me, and this is the process, the beginning of the process of how it comes. So there's more what you might consider to be like classical fumasta in some other filmings, where I'm presenting material that I already know and have worked out in my simulator and in my rantings to myself, my talkings to myself, my musings, and then with my close friends. So that's important at that stage for it to be like that as much as possible. But now we're going to talk about sort of, its raw, where it comes from, and then also just those factors we talked about. So doing this ritual right now, I could be doing it with more eye contact with you. Also my face, my countenance, it could be perhaps a bit more, more in tune with you. That's difficult for me right now because, for example, the topic of this filming, it's stressful for me. It's very stressful. Putting out all of this has been very stressful for me, all my materials, all my theories and all the channels. But, things like, Jailene putting out her reads, that's something I had to really be coached to do. It's very nerve-wracking that we have samples going. I would like to just bake these things forever, and just mull over them for decades and decades and decades, and hand them off to other people for decades and decades and decades, and so on, and then develop computers and a whole thing before engaging the world in the way that I'm engaging it. But right now we're in a state of emergency. The planet at large is in a state of emergency, so I'm doing a balancing act between the proper way that the material needs to be given in the time that would be ideal, so the delivery methodology, and then also the scheduling of it would be ideal, with what this information, what this wisdom can help with, what it can save, and you cross-reference that with how we're trending now, how much harm is happening based on this information not being out there. So I have to weigh that with my fumasta desire to not show anything until it's perfect, to not want to show the wobbly stages that happen first, but that's critical to it. And to be a proper teacher to you all, I need to just be myself and to be authentic with you, and that means that I have doubts, I have fears. As I mentioned in other filmings, there's fluctuations to your command of the wisdom. Right now, Podlair is not operating in ideal conditions, so the world at large is not, and that reflects directly with the Podlair, the Inner Circle, and the various PSAers and so forth that are out there as remote agents. So I would prefer to actually, right now, that Jailene came from her job was stressful, so she's bringing that here, and she's trying to hero up with that, and then we also have to kind of like film with these time constraints on her lunch break and so forth, and this is not ideal. This is not the way you'd want to do it if you had it, but I don't have the tempo, I don't have the schedule to do it as I would like to do it every time. So I recognize that I am leaking my life circumstances into these filmings, but I have to balance that with the good that I'm giving across, and I try to make sure that I make it as professional and orderly as possible with things I have a lot of practice with. But the new stuff, it won't be like that, and where it comes from, that process won't be like that. And then I have to make a lot of decisions on what goes where and when. These are very messy, very gray area decisions, and that's a large part about myself as a human being and how Pod Lair got here and just the whole process. So I want to go over a few things in this filming, things I regret, that I wish were a different way. This doesn't mean I'm going to stop going the way I'm going, but these are things I wish I had done differently and things I wish could be different. It's important to note these because I don't get things right all the time. That's important to know. I have a lot to teach the world, and I'm ahead of it in a lot of things, but as I learn myself, as I enact the wisdoms I know from natural law, I don't get it right all the time. And it's important that I actually am able to note that to myself and to those that I'm going to teach. And since I'm teaching all of you in this world right now, I have to reveal that I make mistakes and how that feels, how I recognize I've made those mistakes, how I kind of like deal with that recognition, and how I get past it as best I can. Also weighing, very high stakes, touchy, tactical calls of when to do what. For example, I do not feel strong enough to be doing these filmings I'm doing in that I could do it with good form. I'm not strong enough to do them with good form. I'm strong enough to do them. And so my spirits and I were debating on, is it better to go for better form, or is it better to go now and get what good can be got on the board and get the better form once it's already in play? These are things you have to weigh. So, for example, I am estranged from my family. That needed to be done in a way because my spirits demanded it of me, but I could have done it better. I could have done many things better. I wish I had not been so angry, so scared, so confused. I did a lot of things wrong. I overreached. I was at my wit's end, and I was losing my abilities. And when you're losing your abilities, you should really try to get something you can get. But I did readings on them that I shouldn't have done. I was too deranged to do those. I look back at some of them now, and I was mostly right, but I got some things wrong. Two friends, Ni Alpha, I told them that they were different Ni Alpha than they were, so I apologize for that. I said in my farewell that I was in that state, but I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have said what their readings were at all. I don't know. I still debate this. See, right now, even on camera, I don't actually know what the right thing is. And this is part of how I decide things. I have to kind of mull them over, these very complex decision making. So I had to get angry enough to do it, but I could have used that anger smarter. I could have done it sooner when I had it more under control. I regret that I didn't know myself well enough at that time to make smarter plays. I mean, granted, the world has its issues, its side of the equation, but I'm in the equation too, and I could have known myself better. I weighed my spirits off at different times in my life, and I shouldn't have. And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't been a coward, if I hadn't been, just weak, if I hadn't been weak at those moments, Pod Lair went further along than it is. So I blame a lot of people for holding back Pod Lair's progress. But if I'm going to do that like a true Fumasta, I have to include myself on that list. I have my lack of ability, my fears, my angers, my pettiness has inhibited Pod Lair as well. So that needs to be said, and I regret that, and I regret that I'm going to continue to not be the ideal shepherd I want to be. I'll be the best I can, but it's not what it deserves. It deserves better than what I can deliver. But it's so good, it must be said, and it must be said now, and I am the best choice of the humans that are here to do this. But I can see lots of things I should do better. I would really like to work on those things. There's many tasks in pod layer that I do that I would really like to have other people do. If they had basic pod layer abilities, I would really like to hand over doing that to someone who had more interest, more ability in that, plus had the pod layer theory to understand it with the proper lens. So I know that I'm not the best fit for everything. I'm not the best fit for everything, and I'm stretched too thin. I'm doing too many tasks like the mojo reading and the strategy and the handling of just, the day-to-day kind of like operational stuff, and then what the overall vision actually is. I have to every day try to figure out what it is they're exactly trying to tell me. So I'm doing a lot of different things that ideally I would like to have a lot more help with, and I'd like to have a lot more hours in the day, and I'd like to have a lot more time doing it at all those phases before I move them on. So I'm feeling very, very rushed, and it's important for you all to know that I'm operating under emergency procedures. This level of aggression, this level of rapid pace rollout. This is actually very slow to my spirits. They think we're very behind schedule and the world's taking a lot more damage than it should, and so they're pushing me hard to go faster, to risk myself more, to put myself out there more. Okay, so I'm going to do that for them. But I want everyone else to know that is the situation, that I am estranged from my family, and I am now moving forward to make pod layer as best it can be, and I want a reconciliation with my family, but I'm unable to leave pod layer to do so. So for those who want to know me, that's my heart on that subject. I cannot leave the trajectory of pod layer, but I want so desperately for my friends and family and former students and colleagues to come into pod layer. It's very important to me. The wound is very deep. I have detached enough to go the road I must go, but the wound is in there. It's very deep, and I want to heal it. And there were multiple contributors, themselves, the world, and myself. I contributed to these wounds, and I want to make it better. So I have that on my mind. I have in my mind that my spirits need to get certain things out by like the end of the day. They have certain goals they set, and they just must be there. They're implacable on this. I regret sometimes not their implacableness, because that's awesome and perfect, but I regret how it hits the world and my inability to always best shepherd that in. I don't, and so I smash into things sometimes, and I wish I didn't, but I do. There's an anger I need to do to kind of just get going, and then that doesn't always make for, I make some things ugly sometimes. Kind of like the first time you do a rep of any kind of feat, it's kind of ugly the first time. You just kind of bulldog, you just kind of got to rage your way through it. And I wish, that didn't just happen in general, because it means, harm to, relationships. And after you do it, you're like, man, now that I know what I was trying to do, I could have done that so much better. I really could have, but I didn't know that then. I regret that. I regret I didn't know well enough what to do. But that is where it is. I did my best of me at that time. It's not the best a human could do. A human could have done better. An IG could have done better in the circumstances, but I did my best, and now I'm going to continue to try to do my best. But there will always be things I'm lacking. And I'll need to somewhere to talk about that. I need some place to be human. In Truth Fire Dragon, I'm going to be both being provocative as far as how much I'm going to push the world, because that's native for me as well, but so is also pushing myself and being hard on myself. So there is a just sort of an implacable truthness coming out when I'm in this state to the world, but also to me. When I look at myself in that way, I see I have these flaws, and I see that this story could go many different ways, and if I had other resources, I would go alternate ways, like PSAs. I'm going to be jumping in the water to do PSA soon. My confidence comes and goes right now in massive panic attack waves, and this is so not the state to be reading in. I'm really stressed. My health is not good. There's so much going on. My spirits are asking me to do lots of different projects. They're being demanding on all of them. This is not the way to ideally do it, but it needs to be done, and no one can read at the level I can read. But normally in this state, I would abstain. I try to abstain as much as I can unless I'm feeling really, confident. And I use Jailene and Demas very much in their confidences and what they're doing to help bolster me in the reading and the theory. Because I doubt this all the time. I feel like I jump up in the middle of the night. Am I going stark raving fucking crazy? I do. I do. I did it last night. Okay, so I do it all the time. And I'm using these 2 heroic towers to kind of hold me steady as I go forward. So I'm shaking a lot, and there's a lot of, kind of just, charging into the wind, not quite sure exactly how it's going to go, except what you need is out there, and you must go forward. So you're just kind of exerting will against this force, this weight to get where you need to go, and then you turn around and you realize what you were doing, and then regret sets in. So in order for the regret doesn't hold me down, I need to be able to speak it. So I don't feel like I'm hiding that from people, acting like I'm a Fu Master and stuff when I'm not. I know I have these things. Part of me being a Fu Master, high level recognition and purification, those kinds of things. You have to actually know what you're missing, and so that you can get it. And you have to recognize that you can't get back what you did. You can only go forward. Dilution, those of you familiar with that part of the theory, dilution training or dilution methodology, that's all you can do when you've not done as well as you could on your last try. It's just do a lot of good tries going forward to make up for it. To finish out the transparency, like I said, I've been working on this case all my life. At different times I knew more or less what it was they wanted me to do, and at different times I more or less went along with it. I firewalled it for a lot of time. I didn't understand what's happening, as I did kept trying to hold it back as it grew and grew. I had more issues going on with me. This was combined with a great deal of stressors that were happening in the world from different places and different situations, but I was also not, I didn't know what to do with what was coming from my psyche, so I tried to firewall it. I never actually, turned my back on it because I was addicted to that relationship, but I felt a sense of inadequacy between what the world made available and what they wanted, and so I shirked sometimes because I just didn't know what else to do. But that's water under the bridge, and now we're going forward, and here we are. So for other people watching this, maybe they can take something from that. That happens sometimes. You just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and just keep on going. So I'm going to try to salvage my relationship with my family and friends and former students through making PodLayer as awesome as it can be, and as attractive to them as it can be, and to treat them with respect as another bubble that I wish to be good towards, because I was not anywhere as kind to them in my leaving as I would be to a foreign bubble. But that's because I felt held, and it was keeping me from clarity, and my abilities were leaving me, and PodLayer was going to fail, so I needed to break free, and I did it in a way that worked, but it wasn't necessarily the best way of it being done. And definitely now, going forward, now that I am one with PodLayer is all my allegiance. When I meet new foreign bubbles, the goal going forward than my other ones is to actually be as giving, as generous as possible, to try to entice them. We have to weigh it, of course, with emergency natures all around, and maybe them being particularly problematic. But that is the approach. So with my past people that I am estranged from, my position now is that I still love them very, very much, and I want them to come into PodLayer, and I'm going to try to make PodLayer as attractive to them as possible, to keep the doors open, to make opportunities, to do anything I can to make that work. And that I had to do what my spirits said I needed to do. I had to do what I needed to do in order to stay on schedule for saving the world, but I didn't do it the best way, and I regret that a great deal. So this is where I am now. I'm still going forward at PodLayer, but if any of you want to contact me, that would be awesome. So I know that's probably not likely for a lot of you, because the way I left was harsh. It was harsh the way I left. Harsh and clumsy. It was harsh and clumsy. It was heroic in that I had to do it. I had to do it for my own sanity. I had to do it to save the world. But other than that, kind of like, a video game mission where there's like a series of obstacle or things you can do to get like credit. I kind of got the one thing you get to get off that level. There's a lot of other stuff I should have been doing for better gameplay points, and I didn't do those right. So I take that. That was my failing. But I did have to get out of that second situation, and that did do that. So we're here now. We're here in a new level of the game. At this level, I'm looking at all bubbles outside of Pod Lair as things that could be friends, bubbles that could be good relationships to Pod Lair, and I would want that to work. So going forward, anyone happens to meet my past people, let them know that that's my take on things, that I miss them greatly, and that I'm hoping every day, every night, all the time that Pod Lair can be a value to them, that they can see its value, and it will be something they want to come and check out, and maybe groove with me again in some capacity. If the wounds are too great, then just enjoy Pod Lair and what it brings outside of us. I wish I could offer more relationship outside of Pod Lair. Unfortunately, I still can't do that. My spirits, they're like right now, I want to be able to do that, but they're demanding that I put myself into the PSAs to help jumpstart you guys and everything and go forward, because we're kind of doing like a leveling up system. Like we're gonna make it up as we go along here. I'm not quite sure how it's gonna go, but until we figure out the exact way it's gonna go, we're gonna do a follow the leader kind of thing. I'm going to basically jump in, do a bunch of typology PSAs. Adima's going to keep hitting dismantles. As he hits dismantles, I'm going to jump out into each one and do about 20 or so, and then jump to the next one. You guys and gals can all join me when you do 20 of a given victim variety of the world's memes. So I'm going to lead the way on this. I really don't feel strong. I feel strong enough to do it, but not as well as I'd like to. I'm very tired. I'd like to freshen up. I'd like to take a year off, just get my shit together, get some sleep, you know what I mean? But I can't. So this is not, I didn't jump tracks. Going back to like with my family and so forth, I wish I could offer more relationship, but every fiber of my being is being pulled on all the time for Pod Lair. In fact, it's being, I feel like they're pulling me out of what I can actually do all the time. So that's the state I'm in. So I have to make a lot of decisions based on that, and it's uncomfortable, and a lot of times it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But I want to be able to have relationships with my past people. I want Pod Lair to be able to link up with them and give them everything that they need. So we'll see what happens, but that's what I've resolved to do. So you kind of look at the regret, you resolve how you're going to go forward in the future, and then you set yourself to do so, and then you can reconcile to whatever degree is possible, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to reconcile with my family and friends, former students, with the world at large. Seriously, just the whole world. I would like to. I don't like being this angry at it all the time. I would like for a better relationship, and I'm gonna keep working on myself to make that better, because I know that I'm actually a component of that as well. That I lack in understanding contributes to that. So that's on me, and I have to take ownership of that. And I'll be doing that here. And those watching, you have to know that this is part of getting the better wisdom. Trying things out, failing, realizing what you did wrong, going and getting a better ride, and realizing that's the way to go until, not all the time, jump off, it just keeps going like that. So here I am, and I hope I can make some new friends, and I hope that friends I used to have will maybe come around. That'd be really great. That was just sort of what kind of just erupted out of me. My spirits actually gave me some things to do, so I'm gonna go through here and just knock off things I didn't do, and then I will have completed this ritual. One nice thing, although I'm shaky completing this ritual because it's very daunting to me, because it's embarrassing. I don't like to actually admit when I don't do things right. Well, I still like being wrong. I don't like failing. I don't like going on to a mission without my ideal toolkit. These things, I like to be at my best. I like to always do things best. Obviously, I'm dissatisfied a lot, but still, some things do better. Okay, so, talk about that. I got a lot of this. Overreaching. I know when I was talking to my family and friends, I also talked about Daniel Tammet, and everything I said about that in context to the level of synonymous he's doing, what he's doing compared to what I'm doing, that still applies. But at that time, I actually told my family and friends that he was a Naiji, and he's not. I believe he's a Zaini. And looking at it now, it seems fairly obvious he's a Zaini. And that just goes to show you how when you are not feeling in a good place, that you can be so off. And you have to really try to account for that in your decision making, is like, what kind of state of mind am I in? So when I became estranged from my friends and family, I tried to use my powers to pull on them, and it wasn't working so good. So I was like trying to pull anything I could think of, and that wasn't so smart. I should have realized that I was in a deranged state. I was fatigued, I was desperate, I was lonely, and that's not the state to do things in. And so I was reaching for anything I could to try to make some kind of impact. So it's important when you guys watch these films I unpack that you know the state of mind I was in. There's a lot of truths that I was saying in there, but a lot of also just my energy. I was not in a good state, so that was the lens that was saying those things. People are complicated, a configuration of characters, and that version of me was saying truthful things from that perspective, but that was a very tired, in pain perspective. And so there you go, for transparency, authenticity, that's the case. So on that note, I am the person that can read the best, and I do have 100% accuracy, but that's not all the time. That's not when I'm feeling down, when I'm not at my best, and that is the state I'm finding myself in right now. So like I talk to my spirits, and they are pushing me hard with visions. I can feel it. They're just driving me to jump in and just lay down like a crazy amount of PSAs, which I am capable of doing. But I'm so tired right now. I'm so stressed. I'm so scared. I'm so pissed off. I'm spread so thin. All the other things that have my tsunami doing. I've said to them, like, I don't know if I can do that and guarantee that I'm going to be accurate all the time. I'm going to try to be, and I may feel that I'm accurate. That's the thing. I'll feel like I'm accurate, but if I go back and look at my work in a better state, what if I was off on something? I said, shouldn't I not go? And they're saying no. The 451 is, I have to go because the world is in such a bad state. The state of emergency is so far in the red. Anything that we can do, we should do. And I am able to do that. If I jump in and do PSAs, I can do so many of them so fast at a very high quality that it would add a lot to our ability to get the world to see what's going on. But I want this to be stated now, and this is for public record, I would not be doing this if I had other options. If I could get more rested, if I could put down more projects, if I could get things that are causing me so much fear and rage and different things like that off of me, I would want all that to happen before I did that. So I can't, so what can I do? I can try and be my best focus I can as I'm going forward with these things my spirit wants me to do. And then, because it is falsifiable, all my students can check my work. They are going to be, when I'm in a better state, I can check my work. And then computers will be designed that can check the work. I want that. I really don't like having the responsibility of having to check everything. As it becomes more of what you're doing, like right now, it helps me a great deal. There are other pod layer, they can see the phenomenon because it allows other minds to do all the reading and falsifying. It's a tremendous burden to be doing that. I couldn't do it if Jolene was to help me hugely with that. Just like with Demas handling all the dismantles and also like it's so much I couldn't do it. I'm grateful for them for that, and I'm going to jump in what my spirit says will be a great amount of help. I'll be able to help out a great deal, but I want it stated what kind of situation is causing me to make that play, and that I'm going to keep checking work that I've done previously to make sure that still stays good. If not, I will have to contact people, let them know, put out public announcements to correct the work. So that has to be allowed. So right now, I'm going to just state that that's the state I'm in, and I may have to correct some work down the line because of the pressure I'm under and what I need to do, but I will do that. I will check my work again and again. I'll have all the other mode reading experts check the work again and again, and I'll have computers check it again and again, because what I want is clean samples. I want clean samples, and I want to save the world using them. So here I come. I'm not perfect, but I hit really hard, and the team needs it, so I'm in. I'm going in.